Welcome to this tutorial of Kloppy. Kloppy is a library to work with event data or tracking data from soccer matches. In this tutorial we have a look at how to work with event data. So the event data is the data describing the match from perspective of passes and shots and all the events that happen in the match. And in this tutorial we have a look at how to load this data using Kloppy and how to do stuff with it. So let's have a quick look at what we'll discuss within this tutorial. First we will look at an example, then look at how to install Kloppy and load data with it. Then we get a quick example of how to transform it to a pandas data frame, which is used by a lot of people. And then we will also have a look at how to plot the data using MPL soccer package. And then we will load the data from local disk, and we'll also have a quick look at the supported providers. So let's first have a look at an example. This one is built with Streamlit. Also we're using Kloppy and MPL Soccer. So there's a lot of overlap with this tutorial. And you can always check the source code. It's available online. So within this example, you can select a player and you'll see the heat map of all his passes on the pitch. In this case, it's the match FC Groningen against the PSV. And in this tutorial, we will look into how you can load the data and plot the heat map of all passes of a certain player. So first we have to install Kloppy, and it's a Python package. You can install it using pip. If you're using a notebook, which I'm using right now, you can install it in this way. Pip install Kloppy, that will install the latest version. And if you like you can also specify a certain version, but most of the times it's good to just install the latest version. Then let's have a look at the data we are using in this tutorial. StatsBomb is one of the companies providing a lot of event data, and they also provide a lot of open data, available data. It can be used for tutorials or experiments or whatsoever. So check out their repository to find more info about it. So Kloppy is a library to make it easy to load data, so you don't have to think about how the data is formatted. Kloppy standardizes the data into Python objects and can easily transform it into, for example, a pandas data frame. But let's first have a look at how we can load data. If we want to work with publicly available data sets, we can use the datasets API from Kloppy. It's imported like this. And then we can tell it to load just the default match from StatsBomb. StatsBomb provides a lot of matches, but we just selected one. And if you don't pass any arguments, it will load default match. And in this case, it's Barcelona against Deportivo. And if you would like to load a specific match, you can pass the match ID, and in that case we can just load a different one. And the datasets API will download the file, put it in a temporary directory, and load it using the regular Kloppy code. And as you can see, this one contains a lot of events from the match, so passes and shots and all kind of stuff. But in this tutorial, we will only have to look at passes, and we can filter them after we loaded all information, or we can pass the loader some more information that we only would like to have the passes. So in this case, we can specify the event types that needs to be loaded, and it will be only the pass event. So it's still the same match, Barcelona against Valencia. And as you can see, there are a lot of less events in this data set because it only contains the passes. Now, let's see what we loaded. So we loaded a data set that will contain all the events, but it also contains the home and away team. And each team contains a list of all players in it. So here you can see that it will contain the full name of the player and also the player ID provided by StatsBomb. And for a single player, in this case Suarez, we can also show the jersey number. And now some more properties, you can find it in the docs. But most people would like to use pandas because you can do a lot of data manipulating with it. And Kloppy also provides a way to go from a data set to pandas data frame. And yeah, we do a couple of things here. First, we filter all the passes on a player. So in this case, we only want to have all events where player is Suarez. And then we go to pandas data frame, and we also tell Kloppy to add another column, which is player name, and that should be the string version of the player. And how does this data frame look like? Let's have a look. Yeah, so in this case, there's a lot of information in it. Player ID, maybe you can remember it, but that was the ID of Suarez. Body parts in it. The player name that we added, and we also get a set piece type. So if it's kickoff, you can filter on it, and you can also see what food did he use. But for this tutorial, the coordinates are most interesting. So the coordinates x and y. We don't use end coordinates in this case, but you can also use it if you need it. Now, let's have a look at how to draw a pitch. Most of the time I use MPL Soccer package for it. It's pretty convenient, and yeah, you can draw all kind of things with it. Yeah, it also provides a way to draw a pitch. We just import pitch from mplsoccer.pitch, and we tell it to draw a pitch. So you can specify colors, line colors, a pitch color, and also the pitch type. So that has to do a bit with the coordinates, but we won't look into that a lot today. But as you can see, I only need 2 lines of code to draw this pitch. So that's pretty interesting. So we loaded a data set, we transformed it into a pandas data frame. We also draw a pitch, and now it would be nice if we can combine those two. So draw the data from the data frame onto the pitch. Let's see how that goes. Plotting data, yes. Okay. So first line, to make sure that we're looking at the data of Suarez, then draw the pitch again, and then from the Suarez passes data frame, we get the x coordinates and the y coordinates, and use them to do a kernel density estimation plot. And that will look a lot like the example that we showed before. So again, just a few lines to get a nice plot of the starting position of all passes of Suarez. And you can also do this for different players. Well, the plot that we made was with data from the StatsBomb open data set. And we used the Kloppy datasets API to load it. But in some cases, you have the data as local data, so as files on your system. And Kloppy also provides a way to load that data. So let's have a look at it. Let's start with downloading those two files, so the events data and the lineup data from the StatsBomb repository. So yeah, when I would like to use the StatsBomb open data, I would normally use the datasets API, but in this case, to show how it works, I just download them. Yeah, let's see. From Kloppy, I can also import the load StatsBomb event data. That's a function to load local data. And how does it work? Well, like this. So I have to specify the file which contains all the events, and also specify the file that contains the lineup. And as you can see, again, the same match. Okay, Kloppy does support a lot of data providers, and the interesting thing is that Kloppy tries to standardize all the data that it loads, so you don't have to think about where you got the data from. You just specify the correct loader from Kloppy, and the rest of the workflow can stay the same. Kloppy provides loaders for 5 providers at this moment: StatsBomb, Opta, Metrica, SportTech, and Wisecout. And the output is always a data set which contains the teams and all the events, and that's always in the same format. So once you have the data set, you can keep the rest of your workflow the same. And as you can see, this is how you load them. So for StatsBomb, you have to provide an event data file name and lineup data file name. For Opta, you need the F24 and the F7 files. For Metrica, you have event data in JSON. The metadata is in the FIFA format. And for SportTech, you also need 2 files, so one for the event data and one for the match data. And for one Wisecout, you only need to specify the event data file name. Well, this was a short introduction. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.